Early 60s, when the computer was first introduced to the world, NASA, which was one of the first to acquire a computer, engineered a program in Florida to attempt to predict the weather. The reason, of course, is because when they do their launches, they have to figure out whether it's good weather or not weeks in advance, days and weeks in advance. So obviously you can imagine, those days computers were as large as this room, and they put in all of the data for years to try to figure out some type of equation to predict a few days in the future. This is the very beginnings of weather prediction. We're getting to Islam lecture, don't worry, it's all going to head there. Everything heads in the right direction, don't worry, inshallah. Sirat al-Mustaqim. So, I think it was 1967, don't quote me on that. So they finally had this computer that would churn out the predictions for weather forecasts. And you would input into the computer a whole range of data points. The temperature and the barometer and the density, the water for the last few days or weeks. And the goal was that it would output for the next week the prediction of weather. It so happened that in one such run, one of the engineers entered in all of the data points. There's like 25 data points. And it took a week or so for the computer to churn out its output. And while it was churning out, the scientist went back and he realized he had actually made an error in the input. This was while the program's churning. This isn't like the supercomputers now. This was like third day, fourth day, and he's like, oh my God, what do I do now? And he looked at it and goes, well, actually, it's not a big deal because the error that I had was only one of the 25 variables, the temperature. And the temperature that I put, I made a mistake and I missed a 0 in the fourth decimal point. Literally 3.2756, maybe that's 6, put an extra 0, 0.6. So the scientist thought, what's the big deal? That's not going to change anything. How can one data point out of 25 that is missing 1 0 possibly affect the output? And just to be on the safe side, because what if my boss finds I'm getting fired, he goes, you know what, let me just scrap this project, do it all over again. So when all that project was finished, he decided to put in the new data point, making sure that 0, fifth decimal, you know your maths? 1 times 10 to the negative 5. That was the point of error margin. He put it in correctly. And out of curiosity, he just checked the two results after a week. And he was shocked to discover that the results were radically different on the 6th or 7th day. Even the first day a little bit different, but the second, third day very different, 6th or 7th day radically different. And he thought, this doesn't make any sense. How can a data point that is so insignificant have such a significant change? This anomaly, and this is a real story, I'm not making this up, you can Google it. It's even on Wikipedia, you college students, it's on Wikipedia. So you're allowed to copy and paste, not for your college exam, but for other exams, you can copy and paste from Wikipedia. This anomaly, believe it or not, was the birth of an entire discipline in mathematics. This anomaly, this accident, this fluke, quite literally created an entire department in mathematical programs around the world. And it's called chaos theory. Look it up. It's called chaos theory. And from this experiment, a famous scientist, he's a Portuguese somewhere, I forgot, he wrote a paper to try to describe this phenomenon. And he gave it a poetic title in order that, you know, these abstract ideas, you want them to go around the world. So he gave it a poetic title and he called it the butterfly effect. And this effect, he tried to express it in poetic terms. Forget scientific theory, forget all the equations. He tried to express it in a way that even a college kid would understand, even a high school kid or a grade kid would understand. And he basically said, the way that nature works is that it is possible that if a butterfly flaps its wings in a particular angle in Brazil, that might eventually affect a tsunami wave in Indonesia a few months later. Now he's being melodramatic because it would require a lot more factors. But essentially, what he's saying might be a bit of an exaggeration, but it's still true. I.e., Mathematically, this is chaos theory. Chaos theory tells us, if you want to be a little bit more pedantic, that in a closed system, even the most minute random change has a dramatic effect after a while. Even the most minute change in a closed system. This is a closed system. The world is a closed system. In a closed system, even the most trivial change has the potential to have completely magnificent changes and results that you could never predict. Now, what has this got to do with what we're here for today? Nothing and everything. Everything becomes nothing, because we're not going down chaos theory. We're not actually going to be teaching chaos theory. Go do and study that in philosophy and mathematics. But everything, because the concept is absolutely Islamic, except that we don't believe in randomness. Remove the word random, remove the word chaos, and bring in qadar. And everything is 100% Islamic. The reality of what this theory teaches you is the smallest, most random act can potentially change the course of history. That is an indisputable fact. That has plenty of examples, historical, theological, seerah-based, post-seerah-based, that proves this point. And we can go on and on. There are so many examples. From the seerah even, things happen that you could never have thought, but Allah has His plan. Even the Prophet ﷺ would not have known their repercussions, their ramifications. But the smallest acts literally change the entire course of human history. And again, because of time, I'll only give you one example, but I've spoken about this in other lectures and other papers and concepts as well. But the one example that I particularly like, which really shows you, again, the smallest act of compassion or kindness, or which we consider random. It's not random in the eyes of Allah. You might think it's random. It's not random up there. And when you do the best you can do and be the best you can be, then Allah will take your small deeds and change them to magnificent, cataclysmic, global changes. And of those examples from the seerah, when the Prophet ﷺ's uncle passed away, Abu Talib, and then his wife, first his wife, then his uncle passed away. This was called the Am al-Huzn, right? As you all know, the year of sorrow. He was sad, he was so sad. As Ibn Ishaq said, nobody saw him smile for a whole year. That's how sad he was. Nothing made him happy. For 1 year, the sadness and the grief overwhelmed him. And to make matters worse, another incident happened. These 3 incidents happened within the span of 2 months. The death of Khadija, the death of Abu Talib, and then the third. What was the third in these 2 months? Ta'if. These 3 incidents back to back, we would call it for us a trauma. For the Prophet it was difficult. We would just have been traumatized, speechless. We would have not just been no smile, we would have gone into shock. One after the other in 3 months. The most difficult circumstances of his life. Even he said so much to our mother Aisha radiallahu anha. When Aisha asked him, after she observed the battle of Uhud, and she saw the trauma, she saw the pain, she saw the physical attempts on his life, she saw Hamza mutilated, she had never seen the sadness. She said, Ya Rasulullah, wasn't Uhud the worst day of your life? Immediately, instantaneously, it was no. Ta'if. Literally, he said, no. Ta'if was much worse than this. That's how difficult Ta'if was. Even though Ta'if was less physical pain, there was more emotional pain. Because, as we all know, when we're children, we're taught some fake, nursery rhyme. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words never hurt you. Nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. Ask any married couple, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will hurt you. Sometimes words hurt more than some physical pains. And what happened in Ta'if was not physical as much as it was emotional. And the process of being Akram al-Makhluqat, being Ashraf al-Makhluqat, what they said, what they did hurt him more than a physical sword would hurt him. And he bore it with dignity. That was the most difficult day of his life. Point being, when all those doors are shut, And his own uncle says to him, you are a persona non grata, your visa has been suspended. Literally. That's literally what he said. You are no longer welcome in Mecca. Get out of here. You don't have your citizenship, we would call it, right? In their time, call it aman. For us, it's citizenship. His visa, his citizenship was revoked. This was unheard of. Just like now the constitution trying to be changed. Never in Arabian history, never had a tribal leader revoked the blood lineage like Abu Lahab did to the Prophet ﷺ. He literally said to the Prophet ﷺ, you're no longer part of our tribe. So what was he supposed to do? His wife has died, his uncle has died, everybody has rejected him. What did he do? He began looking for another sponsorship, another visa. He began applying for visas. Again, I'm using the language that our kids understand. How do you apply for visas back then? You have to go to the tribe and petition. You have to ask the chieftain, the leader, like, hey, my tribe, my visa is revoked. Can you offer me citizenship? Are you allowing me the opportunity to enter your land, meaning your tribe? And he asked Abu Bakr as-Siddiq's help. He said, which tribe should we choose? Because Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was the most knowledgeable of the tribes of Arabia. He had the most knowledge of genealogy. And this shows us the true leader delegates authority to those that know best. The true leader gets the help of all the talents around. And the Prophet knew this exactly. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was the expert in genealogy and history and lineage. And the tribes are hundreds and thousands. You don't have time to go over all of them. Long story short. So, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had a long list of the potential candidates of which tribe should you petition. And those candidates, time is limited. How many days do we have? 3 days. Why do we have 3 days? Because it has to happen in Hajj. You only have 3 days. Because all the tribes come in Hajj. That's the only time you have. The days of Mina, those are the days. And you don't have unlimited time. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had a list. We're going to do these tribes day 1, these tribes day 2, these tribes day 3. Which tribes did he choose? The ones any person who understands logistics would choose. Strength, izzah, history, potential to rival the Quraysh. That's what you're going to choose. So he chooses Kinda, he chooses Hawazin, he chooses Taqib. These are big tribes. And they go one tribe after another, literally. They go and they ask for permission. Can we speak to you? They say, what's your issue? The Prophet presents himself. Every single tribe rejects, either sarcastically or outright, no conditions, or like one of them was at the Kinda said, we like this, but we have one condition. We will allow you to come, but when your message wins over the rest of the Arabs, then our condition is, you be the prophet, we be the kings. You give us the money and the power. And the Prophet said, Inna this is not in my hand. The kingdom belongs to Allah. And only Allah is going to decide that. I cannot decide that. And so they became very angry. And they scoffed and they said, so, you want us to follow you? Then when you become successful, you will take the kingdom from us and you become king. Basically be gone from here. Even though the irony of ironies, had they followed him, they would have gotten the deen and dunya both. As the Sahaba did. But because they didn't want deen, they only wanted dunya. So they got neither of them. Look at the irony here. Had they followed him, like the Sahaba conquered Rome, they conquered Persia, they conquered the Sassanid Empire, the Roman Empire, they would have gotten it. But they were too greedy. So they got neither this nor that. My point is, the Prophet kept on going. On the final day, the third day, no hope left, nothing is there. And they're going between two of the tribes on the list of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. This is one of those butterfly acts. This is one of those random acts. On the third day is winding down, the sun is about to set, and they're rushing to finish, to get to the last few on the list. And the Prophet passes by 6 people sitting on the side of the road. He says, Man al-Qawm, who are you? They said, we are the Khazraj. The Prophet stops in his tracks. He doesn't even know or recognize at the time who the Khazraj are. He goes, the Khazraj? Ayyul Khazraj, which Khazraj? Then a light bulb goes off. Oh, that small little tribe, the Khazraj, the ones that follow the Yahud of Yathrib. The Yahud of Yathrib were more famous than the Khazraj. The Khazraj are nobodies. And had it not been for this one random act, they would not even have been a footnote in the books of history. But this is what you call the butterfly effect. Oh, the Khazraj, those guys. Do you have time? Pause here. The Khazraj cannot possibly be a real candidate for the process to migrate to. I mean, in the logistical scale of things, they're nobody. In the logistical scale of things, these are no strength, no power, no history, no quantity. This is pure Islam, compassion, humanity. This is not being done for any goal of worldly power. This is done good to good. Oh, do you have time? Can I talk to you? Sure, go ahead. Sat down, and he gave them the same compassionate message and call to leave idolatry, to worship the one true God, to abandon false religions. There was no politics in there, because what is he going to ask them for what? There was no appeal of protection, because that's not the goal right now. That's going to come in the bigger meetings. But the Prophet saw an opportunity. It wasn't on the agenda. Well, it wasn't on Abu Bakr's agenda. It was on Allah's agenda. It was up there. And he gave them the same compassion and sincerity that he gave all the tribes. Because see, guys, logistically, our time is limited. Our money is limited. And let's be real here. We cannot give to every cause. We cannot support every single issue. So no problem, you choose wisely. But if an opportunity comes, if somebody comes knocking on your door, if you see somebody on the street and you have the time, the wherewithal, go ahead and do whatever you can, the smallest thing. You don't know the impact of that small butterfly effect. And so those Khazraj, the Prophet forgot all about it, completely forgot. But those Khazraj didn't forget about it. They were abuzz. They were talking the whole way back, as we all know. And they went back completely mesmerized. And those 6 not only converted, they brought a group next year. And lo and behold, from that small conversation, the first treaty of Aqaba. And even then there was no politics, because who are the Khazraj to offer anything? But the Khazraj began giving da'wah to their enemies, the Aus. The Khazraj and the Aus did not like each other. But subhanAllah, there was some friendship, some business partnerships, some intermarriages. So you know what? Even amongst the Aus, some people converted. The year after that, the Aus also came. 75 converts. In 2 years, 1/3 of Medina was sympathetic to Islam. Yathrib is still in Medina. And that's when the Prophet didn't ask them, they made the offer. When you trust in Allah, Allah provides from places you never expect. When you trust in Allah, you knock on 10 doors. You don't even know, but there's an 11th door, and Allah's going to open the 11th door. You didn't even know that door. But because you were knocking, because you didn't give up, go back to my khutbah if you attended it, because you kept on trying, Allah opened up the door that you never thought even existed. And so the Khazraj and the Aus combined together, and the rest, as they say, is history. What do I mean with all of this? What's the purpose of all of this? The purpose is very simple, very easy.